And what you deem valuable and what you focus on is what's going to stimulate, and what really does that. It's like the brain's bouncer. It only allows, it's a guardian gatekeeper of your consciousness, of what you, that 40, 50 bits of information that you're processing per second compared to the 11 million is going to be something called the RAS. And that's your reticular activating system. And so this is like a bundle of nerves in your brainstem that kind of act as like a filter between all that's out there, right? So your conscious mind versus subconscious mind. And so it's all about sensory input. It's all about highlight what is mainly important and what's relevant to your current, I want to really be clear on this, your current goals, and your beliefs and your emotional state. Okay. So what you are looking for to create, but more importantly, I believe this is the one more just based on science and what I've learned is that it's more power to your belief, because if you believe something to be a certain way, that's what it's going to be. And then also your emotional state plays a role. This is why when you're angry, you let more things irritate you. When you're happy, you see things that make you even happier. This is part of that RAS and how it works. So when you're looking for the blue, your RAS was programmed to prioritize only blue stimulus that's coming through the eyes. Whatever got through the eyes that would be blue or variants of blue. Remember, your confirmation bias kicks in here. And it'll filter everything out, including red, yellow, all the other things. And then when I asked you to shift to red, then you shifted to red and you started paying attention to what was red. And so this is kind of how this works. So again, applying this into your life, though, explains why you suddenly see a car you just bought, and then everywhere you see it. And then, or like for, let's say, opportunities related to your goal. And after you just said it, or things like if you just had kids and not everything you pay attention to as kids. One of the things that I love is social media does this really well because they know how to work on your RAS, because what you give attention to, the algorithm pays attention to that. And then how long you pay attention to it with all their metrics that they use has you see more things. Like I sent a text to someone, a friend of mine, and I was talking about something. Next thing you know, I'm checking reels. I have some reels that I work the algorithm to my favor of things that I'm interested in learning more about, expanding my knowledge more on. And then I like comedy stuff. So I like to forward there. And what happened was I started getting reels on that. I sent pictures. I did one on snakes. I was sending a picture to my mom on snakes and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I started seeing reels showing up with snakes. So it's interesting because this is how your RAS works. It's the same concept. So, if you're on social media, you kind of know how that parameter works and so forth. And it's the same concept when it comes to these things. So no matter what, this is what is working all the time, and what you believe, what you put your emotional state to, and your goals that you're looking for are going to play that role and so much more. Now, as we go deeper, I like to get deeper into the quantum side of things and how this plays a role. Now, there was a study done years ago, and they redid it again. It was in the 30s, and then they came back out and did it in the 70s with lasers. But it's the observer effect. I've talked about this numerous times. I've written in my books and so forth. But they say that through the quantum mechanics aspect, the state of observing a quantum system inherently changes the system's state. Now, I want to clarify this, that I've talked about this in the podcast before. I used to say it was just the observer effect. How you observe things is what it becomes. What I've learned is that actually in the study, it was how they measured it is what actually did it. So I talked to people about how you define it is what creates the effect. Okay. So the defining something. And so when we look at like quantum physics and consciousness, this whole thing about your focus on influences the reality of what you experience. This is huge. Because when I said look for blue, you looked for blue. And you eliminated all the other possibilities. So when it comes to like looking at we can bring this into like your relationships and so forth. If you don't like the relationship you're in, most of the time it's what we're looking at, right? And what we're focusing on, and we're allowing that to come up every single time. Like I love when you see couples that have been around for like 40, 50 years, and they're not really exemplifying the beauty of happiness and learning how to blend into one. They're more bickering a lot. What ends up happening is you'll hear it. They're like, oh, you say that all the time. This is what you do, blah, 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 blah. And the guy just said something. Now, as an observer just watching this, I'll sit there and I'll be like, well, he just said that. He probably said things in the past that conditioned her that way. So I could see where he programmed her to respond that way, right? Because it's two people. And then at the same token, I'm looking at the other person. And I said, well, instead of reacting, why don't we ask questions? Right? Because if your perception's hooked on this is how they are, well, then anything they say, they're stuck in that world, no matter what. Even if they changed, even if they evolved, they're stuck there because the person will hold them there because their perception is, I see blue. And blue, this is not, not considerate, not this, not that. That's blue. And that's all they look for. And their brain's always picking it up without even knowing it. Okay. But let's go a little deeper. So the wave particle duality of quantum physics says that before an observation, before looking at things, the particle exists as a state of potential, what we call a wave function. Observe it when you start to define and look, things collapse. That's why everything red went away and all you saw was blue. Right? It's called a wave, a collapsing of the wave. And so, or they say a wave, collapsing of the wave, the function of the wave. But anyhow, it goes into a defined state, which becomes specific, which becomes a particle. So how does this again, tying this all in is how we look, Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is so powerful in so many ways because how you shift your life and how you look at something will drastically change everything. My mom taught me this when I was a kid. I had a math teacher, and I love math. I love science. I did really well in those classes. I just enjoyed them. And it was interesting because one day I think it was maybe high school, might have been freshman year. I had a teacher who just didn't like. He was boring. I looked at every reason. Right, I'm looking at blue, which is boring. He made jokes that were just not funny. It was painstaking to be in the class. And I kept looking for things I didn't like and I just kept seeing it. So what was I doing? I was irritating myself. And then I was getting grades that were not reflecting how I normally would. So my mom was like, hey, your grades aren't where they normally are for math. What's going on? So I just don't like the teacher. I just can't stand it. I went through this whole thing. And my mom's like, hey, how about this? Why don't you just pick one thing that you could find that you like? Just one thing. And just focus there and see what happens. Great advice. I did. I started to like the guy. I noticed that, yeah, he might have not been this and this, but I noticed that there were some things that I was just picking up on that I didn't see that were right there in front of me the whole time. I just didn't see it because, again, I was looking at blue. Hey, long story short, I ended up pulling an A in the class. I started to see his dry humor when it came to math and other things. I didn't let it irritate me. I thought that he's trying. This is where he's, I started creating stories that were different in my head, and it started shifting those things. So it's one of those things that what I did was I believed he was something different than what I was saying before. And that's where we get into like the metaphysical side, because the beliefs are I said earlier, beliefs is what I believe really controls all this, is your perpetual filter. What you really believe is what you're going to see in life. If you keep saying that life is harsh and this and that and all these other things, you're going to experience that. Growing up, I grew up with a very negative beliefs when it came to money. Like money only goes to money. Money doesn't grow on trees. X, Y, Z. I had that belief system built into me. And what happened is that that's what I saw and that's what I experienced until I was just like, why can't I experience the other things that these people complain about? Why can't I see something else? And I had to work through my beliefs. And when I started to realize I had these, I started changing it. Everything just works out for me. I never have to worry about anything because it all works out at the end of the day. My success will come to me. I'll attract. Success is already coming. It's already there. It's not even coming to me. It's not a state that's eventually in the future. It's already there. My job is just to let go. And everything works out for the greater good for me and for humanity too. And I started to say these things, and it was fascinating, even with a chiropractic business, whether it be, I started a coaching business, and I was like, I don't even know how to get, market. This is a whole new form of marketing I'm going to have to do because it's like I'm working online, I'm doing this and all these other things. Things just naturally worked out and brought me into that world. I'm not going to say it was a massive success overnight, but it was one of those things where it was just like little things were just coming together. I call them little synchronicities. My mind kept focusing on growth. My mind kept focusing on, all right, where am I going to go next? This is what I want to achieve. This is why I'm doing coaching. This is why I'm doing this. Things started to change. But it's your belief in your aspects, because what happens is these are unconscious instructions for what to filter in and what filter is out. And when you can really shift your core beliefs, this is when you're going to change your RES, but you're going to start to change the colors that are in your environment. Because when I work with clients and they finally get this, what's interesting is they'll sit there and go, man, I didn't realize that the potential, the opportunity was always right in front of me. I don't know if you get this all the time, but they were like, it's right in front of me. I didn't notice it. I can't believe I missed this. And I'll go, because you were focusing somewhere else. And once you shifted that, you saw different colors, right? So I want to share this thing called selective perception in life, because it's one of the things that I just shared earlier about, like, if money is hard to come, or if you believe in scarcity, or men or women or this or that, or relationship not great, or marriage is good, ends up in divorce, or whatever those beliefs you have, it's making you blind and missing other opportunities. Because from a quantum perspective, from a metaphysical perspective, we know there's a field of infinite potential, infinite possibilities that are sitting there waiting for you. And what's happening is you choose what possibilities you want to experience. And once you hone in, right, let's say it's the 11 million bits of information coming in. Let's keep it from the neuroscience perspective. There's 11 million bits of information coming each second. You only focus on 40 to 50. That's all you can. It keeps the body efficient, the brain efficient. So what are you paying attention to? This is critical because if you want to change your life, you got to do these things. If you don't like where you are, it's funny. I'll work with, even for myself, sometimes it's nice to be around people who are definitely more successful than you are. And so I don't get into the whole like law of association thing, even though it's a law. I disagree because most people I spend time with is my wife and my kids. And so I'm like, and besides that, my patients is pretty much my life. And so I'm like, if it was the law of association, I'm in trouble here then, right? But what I do appreciate about when you're around people that are more successful or doing things that are different or whatever that may be, it helps you see things just slightly different. You get to see their world and how they function and how they do things. And you can sit there and go, man, you know what? I thought about doing that. I can think bigger. I have a bigger vision now. I can go bigger. Or I can expand, right? Because it's all about expansion. You're either expanding or shrinking in life. So how can I look to expand more in all areas of my life? And what I mean by expansion, if you guys have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I'm going to be talking about it from an energetic conscious standpoint, from a spiritual aspect. But it does expansion mean more money too? It can. It's again, what do you want? What do you choose? But it's going to come to that intentional belief, the power of what you truly believe. Can your body heal and overcome anything? Some people believe that, some people don't. With COVID that came around, some people believed that the vaccine was the thing that was going to save them from all the issues that were going on from there. And other people believed, like myself, the body heals. It's all about the immune system and the body within. What's going on inside is going to be able to do that. Yeah, I have science to back it up and all these other things too, but it's the factor of knowing that deep within also is important. So what do you believe? What are you seeing with your life? Last but not least, I want to go ahead and talk about the spiritual side. So, law of attraction. It's simple as that. I want you to understand that everything good is already here for you. You are already having all that attracted to you. You don't have to do anything. You really don't. The reason why you don't experience it is, and I'm going to do a whole podcast on this, is because you are blocking it. You're holding on to things actually you don't want, that you really don't want. But one way is to make these shifts is to change your beliefs, change the RAS, start looking for a different color, and believe that exists. Because the more you do that, the more that confirmation bias kicks in, and you start to look for it more and more and more and more. Where's that little nugget of proof that this means this? What is I always believe that my mom hammered this in my head. Like, you put your mind to it, anything's possible. My mom's like, if you put your mind to it, you'll do it. And she says this still to this day to me because the goals I want to achieve. She's like, I know you're going to get there because you'll put your mind to it. I know you'll make it happen. And I appreciate that because that is a mantra she said to me for a long time, and it's stuck with me. And I believe that 100%. And I've seen it because I put my mind to it. I said, this is what's going to happen. It may not happen in the time frame that I wanted, but it will happen. And that's all I care about. I'm learning as I get older. It's not about getting it when you get it at the time you want. It's like, just be happy you got there, right? Like, some people, I tell people like, hey, if let's say it takes you 20 years to be a millionaire, who cares? Well, look at all these people doing it in 6 months. I had a business client that was like this, and he wanted to be ultra successful in 2 to 3 years. And I looked at him, I said, listen, I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm not saying I've experienced wonderful success within a 5-year period. Do I know people that did it in a year or 2 years to what I took me 5 years? Yeah. Do I know people that take 20 years to get there where I got in 5? Yeah. Do I know people that never got there to where I'm at? Yeah. Do I know people that's gazillion amount of people that are way more successful than me? Of course. But there's the other side of that too. So I would look and I always tell them, like, it's not about, looking, be happy you get there, because I'm like, what if it takes you 20 years to become a millionaire? But now you have all this millions of dollars, you have no debt, and you're making $1 million a year. It's $80,000 a month, personal income. What are you going to do with all that money? I'm like, you can literally take a private jet and go fly to Europe And that'll be only half, possibly, of what it costs you to get there. And you still have $40,000. What are you going to do with that? Yeah, minus you paid off all your debt. It took you 20 years to become a millionaire, but you paid off all your debt along the way. See, it's framing things. We get stuck at these things, and it's looking at these again, coming back to the RAS and understanding what you focus on is what you attract. It attracts the evidence. It attracts what's to be proof. You can't escape stuff that you're holding on to. You can't escape what you give attention to. You can't have a different experience than that. That's why it's so important to reprogram this RAS and change it into beliefs and so much different now thing, right? Because you emit, no matter what, the true signature vibrational core of who you are. If this has been proven, you have a vibrational frequency that you emit out that's unique to anybody else. No one else in the history of humanity has that same vibrational coding that you have. It's a signature that you emit. Now, this is where you attract all the things that you desire. Again, going back to, and again, I'm going to do a whole podcast on this, that you block these things. So it's like saying, hey, those 40, 50 bits of information that you can see per second versus 11 million. What are you going to do? Why focus on the 40 or 50? How do you shift that to see more and expand more? That's the critical component. So it's shifting from the blue to red to yellow to green to blue, all these different colors. It's not just noticing it, but consciously choosing it. That's the difference here. And I want you to understand and start looking for it. So if you're tired of your health not being optimal where it should be, start looking for things that are positive within your health. Find the little stuff. You can walk. Hallelujah. That's amazing. You can breathe fully. That's amazing. Right? And you start to say, well, what is it that I want to choose to experience? Notice I didn't say attract. Notice it's a choice. I need you to understand there's a universal catalog and you choose. What is it that you want to experience? And believing that you can experience that and it will happen for you. Because I always tell people, when you understand the power of who you are, anything's possible. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You have the creation of God within you. Yes, you didn't create all things. You're not all that is. You are a fraction of it. But I always teach this in the sense that I wrote this in my book. I said that you're God. In my first book, Rediscovering Your Grace, I said you are God. And some people didn't like me saying that. And I was like, listen, what I'm trying to explain is that you're in if there's a massive infinite bundle of cotton and you are a strand of that cotton, you are cotton. You don't change your name to anything else. It's not like, well, I'm a fibromacros. You're cotton. At the end of the day, you're cotton. It's simple as that. But the name God has taken a different, I'm not going to go down that path, but you are choosing your experience. Okay. You are choosing it. So you got to believe that I'm going to see yellow from here on out. And you know what? Mind, you can tell your mind this. Hey, guess what? Mind, I want you to show me all the yellow. Heck, I do this with clients. I tell them all the time, like, expect to see something unexpected the next 24 to 40 hours. So sometimes I'll be like this. Show me a pink car. Okay. I'll be like, I want to see a pink car. Not a Mary Kay Cadillac pink. I don't want to see that. I want this pink car to shoot out at me. I want to be able to go, well, there goes a pink car. That's a unique color. Never seen that before. Holy cow. And then it's going to hit me. I've done this so many times to where I'm going to Whole Foods. This was the best one for me. I'm going to Whole Foods. I'm walking to go park my car. I always park far away. I'm walking in or going to walk in. And I look about 3 cars down away from mine. I look and it's parked on the other side. I go, man, is that a Porsche? I'm like, wow. I was like, interesting. Now here it's not registering yet. Okay. Cause I'll tell you, I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, that's a Porsche. It's an interesting color. I'm going, man, that's got a metallic pink to it. It was a pinkish hue. It wasn't pure pink. It was like a little darker pink, but it was pink. And I'm going, that's an interesting color for a Porsche. I've never seen a pink Porsche metallic look like that before in my life. I'm like, cool. I'm walking. All of a sudden it hits me about 5 seconds later. I go, that's the unexpected thing. I was like, wow. Because what I asked was, I said, hey, universe, God, whatever. I'm like, listen, I want to know that what I'm doing right now, I'm on the right path. I need you to send me a signal. Now, I want to see a pink car that's going to catch my attention within the next 24 hours. And I let it go. See, this thing, I'm not looking for it all the time. I just let it go. And then boom, there it is. I was on the expressway, same thing. I was driving home and I did the same thing. I was like, show me something in 48 hours. It was within like 12 hours of it. And all of a sudden I'm driving, I see this car fly by, right? It's speeding like crazy and had a nice engine to it. And so that's what caught my attention. And I looked, pink Challenger. I kid you not. I was like, pink Challenger. All right. You see how these cars are like they're not what you normally would see, but it's a way for me that I use that to shift and know. So I know I'm kind of getting a little off tangent here with this, but I want you to understand there's many ways you can do these things. But this is where you can also do it where you can say, hey, you know what? If you're in business, let's say you're in a relationship, you can literally say, hey, show me, brain, show me what has been successful in my business. Hey, show me what is going well in my relationship. Hey, show me, and you just trust it, let it go, and let it show you, and it will. You'll start to see the evidence. And when you start to get this, appreciate the things that you called out for. Appreciate those red, appreciate those yellows that are coming up. Because trust me, when I saw that pink Porsche, I said, man, thank you for showing that to me today. I needed that. Or, I do this in my relationship sometimes. I'll do this with my kids. A lot of times we can get hard on our kids. We can say, oh, they're not the greatest kid because look how they do this. And I've been very conscientious of that because for a lot of different reasons. With my daughter, sometimes there's times where she'll get me, she's 3.5, and she'll push buttons here. And sometimes it's like a few days of that. Sometimes it could go for a week. And I'm just like, man, what's going on here? And then I catch myself. See, I already told you, if you're listening to me, I fell into the trap, right? I started looking for what? The things that annoy me, the things that bother me, what gets under my skin. And then I'll take a step back and say, man, what do I really love about my daughter, right? What do I appreciate about her? What are the things that she makes her just so amazing, right? So it's been like an overstimulating week, and so forth. And my wife and I were just chatting, and we looked, and my wife comes in, she's like, she was overwhelmed, a little overstimulated. I'm overstimulated, and we look at each other, and she's like, and I appreciate this about her. She's like, our daughter's gonna go places. I could just tell she's gonna go places like that, and she's just labeling all these good things. I see, it is. She's so powerful with her mind. She knows what she wants. She gets upset when she doesn't get it, not because she's spoiled, it's because she knows she should be attracting that already, and she has a powerful mind about this. And I'm just seeing how it cultivates, and I just put my energy in there. And then sometimes I'll do this work too, where I'll look at baby pictures of her, and then I'll try to take myself into that place again when I used to see her when she was a baby. And I'm like, man, the joy and the bliss of being a dad, just watching someone evolve to their levels, and just to be a part of that as a guide is absolutely amazing. And I get teary-eyed about this because it brings so much gratitude in me and excitement to be able to be part of that and kind of remind myself. So when we have like a bad moment, a bad week, I nowadays I'll laugh at it because I'm just like, cool, this is her evolving and so forth. So that being said, choose to understand that there is always the other part out there. Whatever you're experiencing, however you're looking at things, there's a whole different reality there also. It's there too. You're just choosing that one. Shift gears, believe that it is. Your RAS dictates all this. We went through the neuroscience. I got into some quantum with the observer. I got into a little bit of some metaphysical, the law of attraction, your signature vibratory field that you create it happens regardless. It's emitting out, and what you can do. But here's what I want to challenge you, because we have the new year coming up and so forth. What color are you missing out on your life because you're not looking for it? And you can take this in different areas: business, career, money, health, relationships. Okay, those 4 categories. And I want to challenge you for the next 24 hours after listening to this. Look for something specifically positive. Look for anything. Look for someone. Let's take politics into this. Look, if you're a Democrat or you choose to be a Democrat, find something positive of a Republican. Hell, find something positive about Donald Trump. Now, if you're a Republican, find something positive about Obama. Find something positive about Hillary Clinton. Find something positive about the Democratic Party. If you're immediately saying no to either of those, you are choosing that. I challenge you, if you really want to make changes in your life, try this out. Look for something else. Ask yourself 24 hours. I want to see something unexpectedly positive about XYZ. For the next 24 hours, I want to see something positive, a positive thing, progress, whatever, with money, my business, my career, my health, you name it, and see how that goes. Promise you're going to be amazed what shows up. I want to thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. Vic. If you enjoyed the episode, pay it forward by sharing this with someone that you know can benefit from this. Text it over to them right now. Send the link over to them and get them to listen. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. And as always, check out our show notes. We got some cool offering, especially getting into the new year and so much more, especially with our online course, Unlock Your Greatness. We get into all this stuff and much more and whatnot there. I want to thank you again, as always. And until next time, keep rocking and rolling.